Good evening. Welcome to the Northern Colorado Amateur Radio Club Monday Night TechNet. This is Kilo Alpha 6 Echo Tango Echo. Jim, be net control for this evening's TechNet. Looking for check-ins. Anyone wanting to check in tonight's TechNet, please call now.
This is Kilo Echo Zero, Uniform Foxtrot Delta, Scott from Windsor.
Good evening, Scott. How you doing this evening?
I'm doing good, how are you?
Doing good. Been trying to get some work done and figure out what happened over the weekend with my tuner. So, other than that, doing good. This is Kilo Alpha 6 Echo Tango Echo looking for check-ins for tonight's TechNet. If you're wanting to check in, please call now.
Good evening, this is Whiskey Zero, Delta Delta Zulu, Dave and Greeley.
Good evening, Dave. How you doing this evening?
Oh, I'm doing pretty well. Just trying to get some work done. You know how it goes.
Yeah, definitely. Sounds like not many people on the radio yet. I don't know if they're just wore out from the weekend with field day. So hopefully we get some more. This is Kilo Alpha 6 Echo Tango Echo, net control for this evening's TechNet. If you're wanting to check in, please call now.
This is Alpha Echo Zero Charlie Foxtrot, Ben Fort Collins.
Good evening, Ben. How you doing this evening?
I don't know. Not much happened.
Yeah, there's times that's a good thing when nothing's happening. Means everything's going halfway decent at least. Thanks for checking in. Anyone else wanting to check in for tonight's TechNet, please call now.
This is Kilo Foxtrot 4, Delta Uniform Sierra, KF4TUS, Horsetooth, Mike.
Good evening, Mike. How you doing this evening?
Okay, just got home from grocery shopping, dialysis, and fed the dog, and gonna bring in some groceries and feed me. And gotta check the mail here. Mail carrier left the mailbox door open again, so I have no idea how much mail I've lost today. KF4TUS.
Yeah, that's never a good thing. Hopefully you didn't lose any. Thank you for checking in. This is Kilo Alpha 6 Echo Tango Echo looking for check-ins. Anyone wanting to check into tonight's TechNet, please call now.
KE0UFJ, Tim, Fort Collins.
Good evening, Ken. How you doing this evening?
Good, it's Tim like Timothy.
Sorry about that. Misheard it. But anyway, Tim, how you doing this evening?
Well, thank you. Wrapping up an unremarkable commute, and I'm happy for that.
Yeah, it's always a good thing when you get to wrap up a commute and get to your destination. Anyone else looking to check in tonight for tonight's TechNet, please call now. It sounded like someone tried checking in on the 750 machine but lost the repeater. This is Kilo Alpha 6 Echo Tango Echo looking for check-ins. Anyone wanting to check into tonight's TechNet, please call now. Not hearing anything as we can get started with the net and hopefully more people start checking in. Start the now, really have a topic after the weekend with field day. Go through, see if anyone has any questions for the net that they'd like to ask. If you have any questions, please call now.
KE0CF.
E0CF, Ben, go ahead.
Well, didn't get to ask when I went up to none, but anyone got a rundown of how well things went over the weekend?
I don't have any the final tally for how the club did out in none. I was out there for a good portion Saturday, and we had 3 stations set up. I was one of them for a few hours, and the other 2 were doing good on making a lot of contacts all over the place. I had issues at the start of field day and ended up spending an hour and a half, almost 2 hours troubleshooting, and finally got my radio up and going and ended up making quite a few contacts from I think 10 different states within a couple hours. But I don't know if anyone's heard anything on a total or rough total. If anyone's heard anything, call now. anything from a final total from Steve. I know everyone was giving him their log sheets out there. I know we had quite there. They said 3 stations. At one point we probably had about 20 people out there while I was there. Quite a few people stopping by, that new licensees that were, a couple people get on my radio, make some contacts, and they were letting people get on the other radio who were technicians or no license, wanting to try it out and get into it. So I mean, overall it went good. It would have been nice if the weather was a little bit better. We only had about 2 hours of sunshine out there. Other than that, it was cold and a little windy, and then rain moved in at about 5:30, 6 o'clock. So.
All right, yeah, I went there after just about ready to wrap up because it was so ugly out there. Anyway, just curious. This is A-E-0CF.
Definitely. See if anyone checks in that might know a little bit more about how things went the rest of the day Saturday and Sunday morning. This is Kilo Alpha 6 Echo Tango Echo, net control for this evening's Northern Colorado Amateur Radio Club TechNet. We have anyone else that has any questions they would like to ask the net or comments in general, please call now.
UFJ question.
K0 UFJ, Tim, go ahead.
Yes, I'm New Hampshire, got my license in January, and have not been to a field day before, and I was just curious what kind of setups were out there. Was it primarily HF, or was it trying to ride the 6 meter, or what kind of setups you guys have out there?
This year we had, it was all primarily HF. I did try some 2 meter, but didn't have my Yagi antenna out there. They're primarily HF, 20 meter, 40 meter. The one guy was set up doing digital modes on 20 meter. It's a PSK. I was majority of it 6 meter. I kept checking. I had a 6 meter radio and antenna out there that never found any band openings during the day while I was there, but I was trying at least.
Roger, thank you. Just never been, was curious what you guys had set up.
And we had a few HF radios set up, one running digital, but I mean, it definitely, if you've never been, I'd encourage you to go check out the next one or any event where they have radios set up. I mean, if you just get into it, it's a good place. You can go. Almost everyone, I won't say everyone, you will find people, but almost everyone will willing to let you get on their radio, make some contacts, and get some first-hand experience before you buy a radio or upgrade your license even. So I definitely encourage you to check it out. Anyone else have any questions for the net? Please call now. Yeah, hearing nothing, I'll bring up a topic that I was just thinking of, going over what happened during field day, is troubleshooting your equipment when you come across a problem. I know it's something that everyone runs into at one point or another, that something happens and your radio quits working. I mean, for example, when we got set up, turned the radio on, listening to people talk back and forth to get everything adjusted right, and everything was going good, and as soon as field day started at 12 noon, started transmitting, and about 5 minutes later I lost all receive on my radio. I could hear the very strong signals coming in, but was not able to get out. And there, I lost everything. Ended up doing some troubleshooting. Ended up checking power levels, settings, everything, and narrowed it down to where I was pretty sure it was the external tuner I had on the radio. Decided I would disconnect the tuner and go direct from the antenna into the radio just to see if I would receive anything, and I had full receive back. Let the repeater reset. After I figured that out, I grabbed my antenna analyzer, connected it to the antenna to see if there were any bands I could work without having the tuner, and figured out that with the surprisingly short 60-foot end-fed wire I had very good SWRs on 80 meter, which was not going to do me any good on middle of the day. I could do some, but was not very good in the middle of the day. And then 20 meter, I ended up having around a 1.7 to 1 SWR. 40 meter was around 2.6, 2.8 to 1, depending on which end of the band I was in. Determined I was safe to operate on 20 meter during the day, and ran with on 20 meter, no tuner, no nothing, on a 60-foot end fed. Made a couple small adjustments just to be safe. But with that, anyone have any tech tips or tools that they recommend people have whenever they're out in the field, whenever to solve any issues they have? I know for me, one thing I always tell people, if you're going to go out and operate in the field and you're not at home, always make sure you have a antenna analyzer, or at least a SWR meter. Analyzer you can find a little bit more, but you always want to be able to check your SWR, a power meter, and a multimeter. You can troubleshoot things, whether you're getting enough power, voltage drop, amp draw, everything. And your SWR, like I said, I was able to use my end-fed wire without any tuner, with checking the SWR on the analyzer and making a couple small adjustments to get as low as SWR as I could to make sure it was effective. Anyone have any questions or comments? Please call now. CF, Ben, go ahead.
Well, I guess two questions. Well, I guess the first one I was thinking about is, did you figure out what's going on with your tuner? And then the second one is carrying additional, what kind of hardware would you carry that in case you lose your tuner, as you say, perhaps there's something that you can carry along with you that you can use to do some manual tuning instead of having to depend on whatever your antenna happens to resonate at as a user.
Yeah, for the first question, I have not dug into the tuner to see exactly what's wrong with it. I think something inside it was one of the LDG external tuners that has a small control tune module that you put at the radio, and then the rest of it goes out at the antenna itself, direct fed through the coax. I have a feeling it's something internal. It's new, but I think there might be some corrosion inside it that was shorting out and preventing the signal from coming back in once I started to transmit, and it heated it up inside. I think just separated something inside to where it wasn't making a good enough contact to receive signals. But Yeah, you can definitely always carry something with you. I mean, I always have different antennas, lengths of wire, everything to where if I wouldn't have found a resonant band on the antenna without the tuner, I would have been able, I had the stuff with me to where I could have made a quick dipole antenna to put out, just using some 14 gauge wire and SO239 connector for the wire. Like I said, if you don't have anything or want something small and lightweight to keep with you, keep 100 to 150 feet of 14 gauge wire and the SO239 connector to connect it to your coax, and you can pretty much make any band dipole you want and be able to use it. Also, if you have extra chokes and transformers and stuff, like the antenna I have uses a 5-to-1 transformer, so it helped a lot with making it resonant on frequencies without the tuner. So.
W2MIC.
W2MIC. Mark, how you doing this evening? You checking in or have a comment or question?
We'll do the full regalia. Whiskey 2, Mike India Charlie, Mark in Loveland, and yes, I have lots of comments. When I'm out fielding, I have particular, Murphy's Law, and if anything can go wrong, and if it can't go wrong, it will anyway. So I've learned to bring several spare coax jumpers because I routinely experience failures either in the connectors or somehow in the coax itself, twixt my radio and my tuner, and so on. And I figure this is because of all the coax I own, it is the jumpers that get moved around and stressed the most often as I move my portable radio systems around. And second comment is bring lots of spare connectors like UHF to UHF, male, female, etc., so that you can jerry-rig cables to do pretty much anything. I strongly agree with your antenna analyzer and multimeter. Almost always, when I'm operating out in the field, I somehow manage to bump the connector to the battery and have either a poor connection to power or no connection. A multimeter tells me that in a big hurry. I haven't really gotten to the point where I bring a spare antenna tuner or a transmatch, but my little 7300 has a 3-to-1 tuner in it and an emergency mode that will tune up to 11-to-1.
Yeah, definitely agree with all the points you made. That's all stuff I carry also. I have a separate box that I have antenna stuff in. I even carry a crimp tool with extra ends to put on. Obviously, I like to solder if I'm at home, but out in the field, don't always have that luxury, so I carry a handful of crimp connectors also.
As do I, and interestingly enough, I always make sure to bring along my Anderson power poles and Anderson power pole crimper in case we need to get somebody up on power and they don't already have Anderson power poles on their power leads.
That definitely. His overall recommendation is carry your shack with you. Leave your house at home.
What I need but don't have is a 40-foot crank-up tower. Just teasing.
Yeah, that would definitely be nice for out in the field. But then you run into the issue of being able to get anywhere. Anyone else have any questions or comments?
Ford to US.
KF4DUS, Horsetooth Mike, go ahead.
I remember one field day in particular where I brought just about everything that I could think of. Anderson manifolds, SWR meters, spare jumpers, soldering iron, inverter to power the soldering iron from a battery or whatnot. And I was putting up my 160 meter sloper, and the main insulator disintegrated, just turned to dust. It'd been out in the sun for a while, but I didn't expect that to happen, so I didn't have any spare insulators with me. So I reverted to a 102-inch whip on the truck and did 10 and 12 meter contacts from the truck without a tuner needed. It would have been nice to have a spare insulator with and all my soldering irons are AC, so the inverter came in handy for one time. I just plug it into the battery and then it converted it to AC, of course. And of course solder and flux and all the other good stuff. But yeah, I had not anticipated the insulator going south on me. KF4D West.
MIC.
MIC, Mark, go ahead.
Having learned that particular lesson from Mike, I get out in the field and every friggin' thing breaks on my antenna systems. So I too bring a CB whip on top of my vehicle and an LDG tuner to tune it 6 through 40. And I also toss in 3 or 4 ham sticks, because when absolutely everything goes to bleep in a handbasket, you can still get up on a ham stick.
Yeah, definitely. Ham sticks are nice and durable and easy to carry and throw up real quick.
And you can operate a ham stick from on top of your vehicle, or you can mount it to a little tripod on the ground. You'll need some radial wires, but they work just fine. Bandwidth is quite limited, but on the other hand, you can use your antenna analyzer to adjust the length of the whip and move around on the band. That's a pain, but it does work.
Yeah, definitely. I know one advantage I had on this past field day on Saturday when I was out there, my antenna, the transformer is the actual, it mounts to anything, and I made a mount that has a 12-inch spike on it. And the bottom lug that screws into the spike is where you connect the radials or counterpoise wire, and there was so much moisture in the ground that I did not need a counterpoise wire or radials to operate.
Did you fabricate your own spike, or did you buy the one that Chameleon Antennas sells?
I fabricated my own spike. The lug that is on the bottom of it fits into the standard CB antenna mount. There's a lug that you screw a CB antenna into, so I bought one of the mounts and had a piece of steel stake from concrete forms and stuff, and attached the mount to that with a direct connection, so it goes 12 inches into the ground.
Understood. And the thread you are thinking of is 3/8 by 24, and every hardware store has them.
Yeah, I could not remember what the thread count was, but yeah, I mean, that's same thing. I just put it on a steel stake and pound that into the ground, and there was so much ground moisture that it used the natural ground as the counterpoise. And I was definitely impressed with that antenna over the weekend. I was going through, scanning through different frequencies. I wanted to check the radius or the distance and how good it was able to communicate. I had it set up in the inverted L antenna. I had contacts from furthest east was the east side of Tennessee, and furthest west was Hawaii, and all the way from Oregon down to South Texas.
So if I have my picture correct, this was an inverted L, and the feed point was down by the ground. You ran up some sort of support and then laterally as far as you could go?
Yes, the feed point was at the ground. I used fiberglass tent stakes or tent poles from an old dome tent. Had it 12 to 15 feet up, and then across for roughly 45 feet to a tripod. I used the same tripod that my 2-meter 440 antenna was mounted on for the end.
Very impressive results from really minimal equipment. Well done.
Thank you. Yeah, my whole intention for field day was to take that antenna out, set it up, and the inverted L NVIS, and see how good it performed. I mean, it was the first time I out in the field. I used the same antenna at my house, but it is in a sloping wire configuration. I wanted to see for rapid field deployment and NVIS style to check the performance of it. Does anyone else have any questions or comments for the net?
AI5 EEV.
EEV, go ahead.
Bit of a late check-in. Remembered it was, well, just kind of turned on the radio and then remembered it was the TechNet. Thinking about getting 440 and 2-meter for my truck and antenna, and wondering about any reason I shouldn't go with just a mag mount to put on the roof versus like something that I would screw into the body.
For me, I run both. I have nothing against mag mounts. I keep one with me to throw in the center of the roof of my truck. The only way you would not want to go with it is if you have one of the newer trucks to where it's all aluminum, and a mag mount wouldn't work. But I know a lot of people, I even believe Joe, KD0TYU, runs a mag mount in the bed of his pickup and has good results with it.
MIC?
Mark, go ahead.
I am hugely in favor of the MFJ triple 5-inch magnetic mount and the Super Gainer 7900 antenna. The reason being that that's about the best mobile VHF, UHF antenna you can get with the highest gain. And to get more gain, the antenna gets taller, which means that the evil antenna-eating trees can find it more easily. And I find it is much less expensive to knock a magnetic mount off the roof when the evil antenna-eating tree grabs the antenna than it is to do the necessary body work to repair having had an NMO mount or a UHF mount literally ripped out of the roof.
Very good point. That's like I said. I run both. Well, I have one in my pickup. I made a heavy-duty mount for my HF antenna that's off the back corner. But usually, if that antenna's on, I have my UHF VHF is on a mag mount. But yeah, there's definitely nothing against them. They're definitely worth it unless you want something permanently mounted. If you don't want it permanently mounted, go with the mag mount.
Thank you, MIC. Could you read me the mag mount and the antenna back to me?
I think you said MFJ for the antenna. Was that the MFJ 1729?
I'll reply off the top of my head and then give me a few minutes to wake up my computer and get you exact numbers. MFJ sells a variety of triple magnetic mounts, 3 magnetic discs, each 5 inches in diameter. And the different versions have different threads, so NMO, UHF, CB stud, 3/8 by 24, and I think a couple others. The antenna to die for is the Super Gainer 7900, 7900, and I'll figure out who makes that in just a moment here. It is a tall antenna. It has about 7 dB of gain, and it has a hinge at the bottom, so you could fold it down to get into and out of the garage or the parking garage or whatever the heck. And give me a few and I'll dig up exact numbers here.
Great, thank you. Yeah, just realizing having the HT inside the truck with the antenna inside the truck is pretty ineffective.
Yeah, you'd think they work better, but glass is a great insulator. We're waiting for Mark to pull up those numbers. Anyone else have any questions for the net? Please call now.
Easier to another question.
And SG 7900 NMO November Mike Oscar, which is the strongest mechanical mount you can get on a mag mount. And give me a few minutes and I'll get the MFJ triple mag.
Okay, Mark, you doubled with Ben at the beginning of your transmission. If you just want to wait for you to get the other one, then you can come back with both the full part number for both of them. Go ahead, Ben.
Back to a field day or just a remote operation is, what kind of mitigation did you do to when there's a threat of lightning? Did you go with the standard lightning protection systems, or just disconnect and stop and wait out storms? Is it easier stuff?
Yeah, I know. Me personally, if I start seeing lightning off in the distance, I'll take down my big antennas and lay them on the ground and disconnect the radio. But for the spur of the moment, random lightning, my HF antenna is already grounded, and then I use lightning protector on the coax just to help. It's connected to the ground also. But true lightning protection, you should be running a 8-foot piece of copper into the ground, which remote operation and field operation, you can't really do that, so you kind of have to play it safe, in my opinion, and start seeing severe weather come in, disconnect your radio and lay the antenna on the ground so it's not the tallest thing out in the field.
Yeah, lightning is kind of worrisome. Just wondering, I definitely don't have the best situation around. It can be kind of worrisome when bad weather comes around. Not to mention like wind and stuff like that, but that's a different story. Alright, easier to see effect then.
MIC.
Thank you, Ben. MIC, Mark, go ahead.
Okay, I have part numbers. The triple magnetic mount is the MFJ 336M. That's Mike Foxtrot Juliet 336 Mike. And that is the NMO mount, November Mike Oscar. And I'll drop and come back up with the antenna. The antenna I suggest is the diamond, like the jewelry on your wife's ring, SG7900ANMO, and I'll do that with phonetics. Sierra Golf 7900 Alpha, November Mike Oscar. And I should note that I ran a 5-watt handheld and that antenna and that mag mount for 20 years as my mobile, and only in the past couple of years did I actually give up and buy a real mobile radio. With that antenna, I have spoken from High Point in Loveland to the Pikes Peak repeater in Colorado Springs on 5 watts from my handheld with that antenna.
Thank you, MIC. That's awesome. I've copied all the part numbers there, and I'll go ahead and look for that. KI5EEV.
One day when I was on the Pikes Peak repeater from here in Loveland, a chap with that antenna and that mag mount was driving east from Colorado Springs. We finally lost him at 115 miles, 115. And he was coming into the repeater just gangbusters until he dropped behind a hill and we lost him. He was running 50 watts, 50.
West.
I believe I heard DUS in there.
KF4 DUS. I've had equally great success with the SG7900. Trees in my driveway ate quite a few of them, so I'm going to piece together a Frankenstein. But I had one attached to first my 50cc scooter and then onto my 500cc scooter. And that antenna does not need a ground plane. So all I did for the scooters was take a piece of speaker wire, insulated speaker wire, and grounded that antenna, the ground part of the antenna, to a screw post on the frame of the scooter. And just like Mark, I was able to use an HT on it, all the way from HRO, and a lot of times from Longmont, just down a 5-watt HT. And people really thought I was running a mobile. Just, no, it's 5-watt with a lot of gain in the antenna. But, yeah, the next SG7900 I'll put up, it's not going to go on the roof again. It's probably going to go on one of the two side walls of the pickup bed, along with the 102-inch whip. Even with the spring on it, I don't need that high of a profile that I'm trimming trees going down the road. But that antenna does not need a ground plane. So even if you have a aluminum top on your vehicle and you drill a hole in there, or some people use a mag mount, or they'll put it on their headache rack on a pickup and attach it that way. But it doesn't need a flat ground plane. It's an amazing antenna. KF4 US.
MIC?
MIC, go ahead.
Along that general line of thought, I will note that I, for years, used an SG7900 on top of a mag mount on top of a steel cookie sheet as my base station antenna, and with my little 5-watt handheld operating from my shack indoors in the house, not on the roof, I could talk to any of the repeaters in the area. It is a superb antenna. Back to net.
Yeah, thank both of you for those comments. This is Kilo Alpha 6 Echo Tango Echo, net control for this evening's Northern Colorado Amateur Radio Club TechNet. If we have anyone else with any questions or comments for the net, please call now.
Jim, just wanted to thank you for letting me use your radio there and make my first HF contact, and for everyone else there at the event on Saturday. It was a lot of fun, learned a fair bit, and just really interesting, eye-opening experience. So, thank you again. KI5EEV.
Yeah, you're welcome. Glad we could get you on the air for the first time. It's always, I find more enjoyment in letting other people use equipment they've never used. Teaching helps you learn more and be a better operator when you teach someone else. Do we have any questions, comments, or late check-ins? We'll add one thing. If you've never been to a field day or never operated an HF radio, talk to someone. I know I go out in the field quite often, usually up in the mountains, and set up and operate out there, which I'll be doing. Anyone ever wants to go out, let me know. Figure something out and even use the base radio at my house. It's always about helping other people learn and see what parts of the hobby they like. HF is not for everyone. Some people are happy just using the 2 meter and 440 on repeaters and friendly contact, where other people like the HF side of it and the digital side on HF. There's a lot of things you can do and learn. Do one last call for anyone that has any questions or comments or late check-ins. Hearing nothing, like to thank everyone that checked in this evening and look forward to hearing from you next week for the TechNet at 6 p.m. Also a reminder that Wednesday night is the Club Net at 6:30 p.m. with early check-in starting at 6 on this repeater. With that, say 7-3. This is Kilo Alpha 6 Echo Tango Echo. The repeater is now open for general use.
This presentation was brought to you by the Northern Colorado Amateur Radio Club. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe.